Let's define the roles of each member of a NASCAR race team. I'm Matt Faulkner, and this is Overtime. Let's start out with driver. The driver drives the car. That one's easy. While we're on driver though, let's go to spotter. The spotter is the guy that stands on top of the skybox or grandstands during the race and tells the driver when he's clear or not. The spotter is essentially the driver's eyes in the sky. Next up is crew chief. The crew chief is ultimately the manager or boss of the team. He's responsible for all the decisions made on the car. He uses information given to him by race engineers, by the mechanics, by the spotter, and even the driver to make the most informed decisions he can to what to do to the car or when to pit or how the strategy works, how to work with teammates to make sure the race goes as smoothly as possible. Race engineers. Race engineers work most closely with the crew chief. They are the guys who run the simulation during the week. They're heavily responsible for providing the crew chief with the data that will determine what setups go into the car, and once at the track, what changes to those setups will be made to make the car better after practice or after qualifying, or even during the race, what changes can be made to improve the car after the race has already started. The tire specialist is another person on the team that communicates closely with the crew chief. The crew chief will talk to the tire specialist regarding what tire sets to have, what air to put in the tires, whether to set the tires in the sun or in the shade. All things regarding tires will be run between the tire specialist and the crew chief. The car chief or head mechanic is ultimately in charge of the car itself. So while the crew chief and race engineers play with a virtual model of the car on computers and decide what in theory would be best to do to the car to make it better, the car chief is actually making those physical changes to the car and making sure that the mechanics that work for him are preparing the car to make sure the car is ready to go on track and perform at its best. The mechanics are the group of guys that work underneath the car chief. You'll hear different types of mechanics discussed. You'll hear front-end mechanics, which work on the front of the car, rear-end mechanics, which work on the back, interior mechanics, which work inside the car. Different teams do it in different ways and divide up those roles, but basically you have a few mechanics that work on the car with the car chief to make sure the car is safe, make sure that the setup is in the car correctly at the track, and make sure that the changes requested by the crew chief and race engineers are implemented into the car correctly. One guy we can't forget is the truck driver. The truck driver is the guy that drives the truck from the shop to the track, make sure the car gets there safely, make sure the car gets unloaded, make sure all the equipment's in the garage. Truck drivers also help with auxiliary activities like cooking, running gas to the car, anything that needs to be done that's not a specific job of the mechanics or engineers, the truck driver will always pitch in and help out on. While I think it's important to mention that there's a lot of other team members involved that we haven't discussed today, like guys at the shop, pit crews, team management, even social media guys, these are the guys that you'll most likely see at the track on a race weekend, and hopefully now you know a little bit more about what they do.